All right, so if you've been keeping up with us, we are to the point where we're actually creating our different classes. So we have this middle school geography, this web design, and this intro to computer science class card. We're going to go ahead and create a template for that and kind of repeat it down here for all these different frames that we have. What we're actually going to do is probably delete class 2 and class 3. We'll build out class 1 and then we'll just copy and paste it down and replace the content that's in there. In reality, we could turn this into a component, but we're probably not going to do that just because there's a relatively finite amount of information that we're doing here. If this were a component that we're going to be used to style out, hundreds or thousands of pieces of information, and you want to do that in Figma, you could. But for what we're doing, it's going to probably be quicker and just a little bit more efficient for us to go ahead and copy and paste the content, or at least the structure right, and then just replace the content that's in there. So for right now, we've got this class 1 page down here, and if I hop back to my wireframe, we can see that we have a pretty prominent course name with some division level, and I think it says department down below. We have these different lines of paragraph text that are going to be information about the course, a button that will take us back. I've got a section over here about themes with these little kind of mini cards that are down below, or these like tags, these pills we could say, and then the different units themselves along with, excuse me, some different numbers for the units that are styled accordingly. Don't forget there's this big background image that exists as well. So let's go to our mock-up and let's go ahead and start with that left-hand side and just kind of work left to right. Actually, let's work back to front. I want to go ahead and grab one of these images here. Let's see, we'll do the middle school geography class first. I got this picture from a movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is pretty cool if you haven't seen it. I'm going to use my rectangle tool and go ahead and grab the entirety of that page. I'm going to create a frame here. So we'll say frame selection. I'm going to paste that image in, and I'm going to keep dragging and make it rather large because I want it to fill the entirety of that frame. And you can see that it actually spills out over the bounds of the frame. That's what we want. We want this to kind of be running over and filling everything up. I'm also going to add a fill here that's a gradient. So maybe it's a little bit darker, just to kind of give us kind of like a faded look, but this also allows us to put text on top. So I can kind of come in and let's see, I like that a lot. I can go ahead and grab my text tool with T and I'll say middle school geography. And we're gonna have to clean this up a little bit, but that's cool. I'll change this to a hero. So there's my text. Let's go back to our wireframe and check things out. So we have the course name. That was not in all caps, if I can spell or type. All right. Let's come in and grab our text tool rather by hitting T, just like that. And we'll go ahead and actually, instead of just clicking in one place, we're going to go ahead and create a box that we can use. We'll go ahead and change the style here to paragraph instead. Right click, say plugins, say lorem ipsum, auto generate, and now it's giving us our lorem ipsum text, which is what we want. We'll make sure that's lined up. Come back to our wireframe. It looks like I've got this text taking up half the page, and maybe this is a little too large. So let's come in and change this to an H1, which feels a bit more like what we wanted. Let's double check our wireframe. Awesome. We do have that information about the course, so kind of like some meta information we could say. So I'm going to go ahead and come in with my oval tool, and I think I have like a couple of little images here that I wanted to use as icons, which I don't think I've picked out yet, but we've got some that we can reuse for ourselves. Give some breathing room to all of this. Okay, actually, maybe a little lazy and try to redo some work here. This would be the history department. And now let's grab both of these, copy and paste. And then this was this division level? Other way around, but that's okay. This is middle school. All right. Because these two pieces of information go together, I'm going to group them just because that'll be easier to kind of move things around. If I decide, like, for example, you know, I really want this middle school piece to come first, I can go ahead and do that pretty easily. And now I can move history department up with that as well. And now I can grab my text and make sure it's aligned the way that I want it to be. And I gotta say, I think we're looking pretty good there for the left-hand side. I do want to come in and add some icons in for these two pieces here, but for right now, I think we're in a good place. Let's come back to our wireframe. We need themes and units over here on the right-hand side. So let's go ahead and grab our text tool with T. How do we have that lined up? Looks like themes are a little bit lower compared to that main title. So I'll start right here and see how things go. We'll say themes. And let's make this an H1. Probably should be something smaller, right? Because we already have H1 here. So let's change this to an H2, see how it looks. Probably need to go smaller. H3 looks good to me in terms of that visual hierarchy of things that we talked a lot about in this course. I'm gonna start there, come back over. Let's go ahead and do units the same way so we can copy and paste. A little lazy, but that's okay. So we'll say units. All right, let's come in and make these different little theme cards that we have. And it looks like I've got, again, like a little icon and then whatever the theme of the course is itself. So let's come in with our R rectangle tool. I'll go ahead and grab it like this. Get things lined up somewhat. Let's try 12. I don't like that very much. Let's try 6. I like that. Nice and subtle. We'll go ahead and grab this, and in reality this could be a component, especially because we want to be able to easily change things. I'm going to be a little lazy and not make this a component and just go ahead and change the color. So we'll go ahead and make it that primary color that we've been working off of. Let's come in here with O, our oval tool or our ellipse tool. Hold down Shift and drag to create that. And then let's hit T for our text tool, and we'll go ahead and make this paragraph is probably going to be too, well, actually that works out really well. We'll say a theme. Let's see. I'll maybe move this in a little bit. Make this actually a little bit smaller, so I'm going to detach that paragraph instance and maybe make this like a 12. Let's see how that looks from further out. I think that's okay, but I actually think that's a little bit too large, too much kind of padding there on the side. So probably a little bit of a flow in the video there, something messed up for me, I apologize. But what we're looking at is actually this little theme pill or this theme card that we've been developing. So I'm going to keep working on that, and we'll go ahead and replicate them out for other ones. So I'll just go ahead and say, you know, first theme, something like that. And let's bring in just a little image that we can use from these icons down here. I'm going to grab this one and come back into my mockup, and then go ahead and we'll paste this in and make it something pretty small that fits inside of there. Even smaller, apparently. All right, maybe a little bit larger than that. Cool. All right. See how that looks. Maybe we can take this ellipse here and let's actually make this white instead of gray. And let's actually take this and instead of background, how about our accent color? Maybe that takes away too much from the theme and we'll make it maybe just like a little bit lighter like that. I like that. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and select these things, which is going to be a lot of holding shift and clicking. Just kind of make sure that I've got all these things that I want here. So I've got first theme, ellipse, rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and group these things together. And that way I can just go ahead and kind of move these around myself and copy and paste. This is kind of like a poor man's version of making a component. If I change one, it's not going to change them all, but it allows me just to go ahead and kind of quickly iterate and move them around. So I'll just call this theme box. We can go ahead and say copy and paste, and I'll drag this over, and let's go ahead and change the text here. We'll call that second theme. By creating a component, what I could have done is had what's called auto layout, which means that as I change that text, that padding is going to persist, and it's going to just go ahead and grow depending upon the size of the information that's in there. That's something that we'll do at another time, but for right now, we'll just kind of focus on doing things this way. I'm going to grab this first one more time, and I'll drag it over here. And you can see that it's letting me know that these two things are equidistant apart, or these three things are rather, that the gutters are all the same size. So we'll say third theme, and maybe make it just a little bit bigger, even though that's somewhat inconsistent. That's okay. All right, so we're looking like we're in a good place so far. Units, we need to go ahead and come in and create a few of those. And if I go back to the wireframe, I think we have a circle maybe with a number inside of it. We do. All right, so let's come back over here and we'll do our oval tool. Let's see, let's make this a white background. And then let me zoom in and we'll go ahead and click to do some text. And I'm gonna be lazy and do in, which is gonna be like a placeholder for a number. And we'll make our text, let's make it a little larger. I think that'll work okay for us. Let's see, bring that down. Keep going. We can get it to vertically align. Maybe not. Tell you what, let's make this smaller. Let's detach this. Let's bring it down to like a 12. Ooh, gracious. Don't like that. Let's try that again. Let's see if we can get this to vertically and horizontally align for us. There we go. That's pretty small, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and change our color to primary 1. I gotta be honest, I want to make it a little bit larger now. Such is life, right? Come back in, try again. I know that we're not quite there. Let's see if we can go over a little bit. All right, I feel good about that. Let's go ahead and grab our text tool again, and we'll say a unit title. This is all kind of placeholder for right now, but obviously as we're building things out, if we want to make things as realistic as possible, then we're going to need to put real content in here, like a number for the unit, and then an actual unit title that would go along with that. Let me go ahead and grab these three things. And just like before, I'm going to go ahead and group that selection so I can easily copy things. So I can do a copy and paste now. And I can go ahead and keep dropping these things. Now if I select all of them, I can go ahead and tidy up their vertical spacing. And now I have those different units built out. So in reality, that's all the different components that we have for one of these classes pages. Let me go ahead and come down here and get rid of class 2 and class 3. And instead, I'm going to go ahead and select class 1. I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste. And we'll just go ahead and bring these down as well. Now what we can do is just go ahead and change out a few pieces of content. So if I come back to my wireframe over here, let's see. Actually, my mock-up. I know web design is my second class. So let's come in here and change that. That would be our science department, not our history department. And then this last one is going to be, if I can remember the classes I teach, the Intro to Comp Sci class. And just like the previous one, should be the science department. All middle school courses. I guess web design is middle school and upper school. All right. 2 separate courses technically. Now we have other things that need to be changed in here. Obviously, we don't want a picture of Walter Mitty being the representation of these different classes or the personalities of them. So let's go ahead and come in here and grab this "Shall we play a game" image. I want to use this for the Intro to Comp Sci class since we're sitting on that page right now. If I go ahead and find that image there, I'm going to select it and I'm going to go ahead and hit paste. And what it's doing is kind of at the same place. It's going ahead and allowing me to paste it in. And then it's going to work in the exact same way as it did earlier with Walter Mitty. I'm just going to put it in a way that makes sense for the page itself. And then I can click on that Walter Mitty image down here and go ahead and get rid of it. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on this because the background here can kind of actually be hard to see. So we had a fill that was on top of things, and I think that was on, let's find it real quick. Did we have a fill on top of the image itself? That's right, and I think we went up to about like 60, 65 maybe, so there we go. So just like before, we had this gradient that's sitting on top, and it just makes the text easier to see on the pages themselves. One thing I'm realizing now that we're at this point is that we did not have, or that we had not included rather, the button to go back, but we'll get to that at the very end. Let's do the same process for changing things out on this web design. So I have this one down here. Go ahead and come back over. We'll find our web design here. Image 3, which is Walter Mitty, we'll go ahead and paste so we have this in its place. This one's going to work a little bit differently because it's what's called an SVG, which is a different kind of image. It's got a transparent background. It's kind of crazy in terms of how it looks, but that's all right. Kind of move it around a little bit there. We'll grab the one from before. We'll go ahead and grab this, and let's add a fill on. It's like it's not going to go on top of things, so this whole process may be for nothing. But we can go ahead and actually kind of cheat our way around this. Let me undo that, and let me draw a new rectangle. This is going to sound a little crazy, but what we're doing is trying to essentially put something on top of that image that we have. So now let's change this to black, and then move this down to like 65, just like before, and we get the same effect. So a little bit of cheating, but it works to get us where we need to be. I think we have our image taken out like we needed to. So yeah, there we go. Those are our 3 course pages designed for us. We need to go ahead and add that button in, which can be the last thing that we do because this recording is getting a little bit long. So let's just come into the first page here, which is middle school geography, and I'll hit R for my rectangle. Let's go ahead and create this button that's going to take us back. See if I can get things lined up. Cool. I'm going to make this a little shorter, maybe not quite as wide. I want to grab the corner here and we'll make it similar to what we saw earlier, which I think was 6. Let's go ahead and grab the background, and let me see if we have a color here. Looks like it's clear. Let's go ahead and just make it white. Cool. The text in here will say, back to classes. In my wireframe, I've got this little arrow, so let me come back over here. And we don't want to go that way, we want to go that way. So let's bring that around. I can see that I'm about 180, which means that I am on the right side of horizontal, which is good. Let's make this a little smaller maybe. We'll make it like a 48. And then we'll drag it to make sure it's the right height. Cool. What happens if we do this? I don't like that. Let's maybe bring this in. Let's see. How do we feel about that? I think it's okay. I don't think it's great. In fact, maybe the colors would make me a little bit happier. So let's go ahead and detach those colors, and instead let's bring in that primary, which does feel better. We can make this primary as well. And now things just have a little bit more of a consistent feel, I think, in terms of the way the colors are working on the page. All right, cool. Like we've done before, let's go ahead and grab these 3 things. And if I had been proactive, we could have done this in the beginning, but that's all right. We'll go ahead and bring things down. Let's see how high or how far away this text is from what's around it. Let's see. Maybe not the best method of doing that. You know what? We're going to be a little lazy. We're going to eyeball things here. Let's grab this one more time and bring it down to the last page. Get things to line up the way that we need them to. All right, I think we're good. So there are our 3 class pages, which definitely stylistically are the most complicated, I would say, in terms of the different components that we have on there. But also they look pretty good in terms of the content that we have. In the very last video, we'll go and check out how to make the About Me page, which is going to be super simple. And then we'll look at prototyping so that we can actually navigate from page to page within this application.